and look upon this prize not as a reward for what I have done, but as a happy omen for what we're trying to achieve in the future. Because my country has still a long way to go before I can say that our people are both free and secure. I have said again and again that that is what people wish for most in life, both freedom and security in the right proportions. So I would like to thank all of you who have made it possible for me to be here today, and who have given me such nice compliments. And I would like to thank Dr. Kurama for beginning by saying something that went right into my heart, that education is about learning how to get into other people's minds. This is what I always tell people, why I love reading, that it gives me a chance to explore other minds, not just the minds of the author, but the minds of the characters that he or she creates, if it's a work of fiction, or if it's a work of non-fiction also. You learn so much about others rather than yourself. That's the best part of the prize. The worst part is having to make a speech. I don't like making speeches. Now this may be questioned by people who will say to me, but you've made thousands of speeches all over the country and abroad as well. But when I'm making a public speech, when I'm speaking to my people, even if they are tens of thousands, sometimes into the hundreds of thousands, I don't feel that I'm speaking at them. I feel that I'm speaking to them, I'm speaking with them, because I can make eye contact with them, I can see them, and I can see what they feel about what I'm saying. And always at the end of every public meeting, I try to give people a chance to ask me questions, just so that we can learn to understand each other. But when I'm making a speech, a very formal speech, and not in a place like this, but in a very formal setting, I don't feel that I'm really engaging with the audience. And that, for me, is not really a dialogue, as Dr. Kurama said. A dialogue has to be something more than just you making your point and the others making their point. I've discovered that one of the perks of being in government is that you get, your office provides you with something called talking points before you make it. Which means that you really don't have to do any work if you don't want to. You just read out these talking points. But when I read these talking points, I think to myself, well, that's not me. That's not what I'm saying to those to whom I should be talking. So I have to say that I generally ignore those beautiful talking points that I'm prepared for. So I looked very carefully at I was also told by Harvard what I was supposed to speak on. Now that's very good. I quite like that because it made it easier for me. I didn't have to think too hard about what I should say. It said I should talk about the importance of improving intercultural, interethnic, and international peace among people of all cultures, backgrounds, and religions. A very tall order. Anyway, now you know I was ordered to talk about it. But I thought, again, this is the right moment for me to be talking about intercultural, I had to write it down in case I forgot, intercultural, interethnic, and international peace among all people of all cultures, backgrounds, and religions, because this is exactly what we're trying to achieve in my country. Now, when I talk about my country, I immediately notice today that some said Myanmar and some said Burma. Now, this is where our problems start. We can't even agree about what to call our country. When we became independent in 1948, we became independent as the Union of Burma, and we were very proud of it. I was only 2.5. I don't think I really remembered the Independence Day ceremony. But I grew up in an atmosphere of pride, in an atmosphere of joy that we had become an independent nation. We were the Union of Burma. So Burma for me was a beautiful word. It is not our word for our country. In Burmese we call it something else. We call it Myanmar Nangan, which is what you have been asked to call now Myanmar. But the reason why the country became, well, Myanmar to the international community as well, is because the military government decided that Burma was an invention of the British colonial power and therefore should be rejected in favor of Myanmar. And also, there was this explanation that Myanmar referred to all the ethnic peoples of our country, whereas Burma was only to do with the Burmese ethnic group. This, by the way, is not true, because Burma is simply a literary form of Myanmar is just a literary form of Burma, which means a Burmese ethnic group. That is why I am not over fond of using the word Myanmar on the international stage. The second reason is that very, very few foreigners can pronounce it properly, whereas Burma is easy enough. So our country we have to have national reconciliation. And I have not, although we are in a position to do so, I'm not going to say we must no longer use Myanmar as the official name for the country. We must go back to Burma. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to fall into the trap of always trying to impose your will once you are in a position to do so. If you are in a position to impose your will on others, it is all that much more important that you should not do it. This is the basis of national reconciliation. What we want is not domination, we want reconciliation. And for this reason, we've decided that Myanmar will remain the official term for the country abroad, but if people refer to my country as Burma, I'm happy to hear it, because I like referring to it as Burma when I'm talking to non-Burmese. So, we are a country of 135 ethnic groups, officially, that is to say. And I think we really need to go into this very, very carefully to find out whether this is true or not, but that's another matter. Anyway, let's take it at 135. And of course, we have peoples of different religions. Now, our country has never been at peace since we became independent in 1948, because the day that we became an independent nation, one ethnic group rose up in rebellion because they did not trust the government that was dominated by the Burmese ethnic group. So that was when we lost our peace. The day that we gained our independence, we lost our peace. But we've never lost hope. I've always said that we can lose anything, we can cope. But once we lose hope, we've lost everything. And then our troubles will be very, very difficult to resolve. I'm very proud of the fact we are a nation of many peoples and of many religions. And I'm sad that in latter years we have had communal problems in our country such as we have never had before. The speakers before me very kindly mentioned my book, Freedom from Fear, a few times. Now, I wrote about this book, Freedom from Fear, because I believe that fear is at the root of all division, because fear leads to hatred, and hatred leads to division. I always challenge people to prove to me that none of their fears are rooted in hatred, none of their hatreds are rooted in fear. All hatred is rooted in some form of fear or the other. For example, if you take a very simple statement like, I hate snakes, it's because you fear them. Why should you hate snakes unless you're frightened of snakes? I hate somebody. Why do you hate that person? What is the reason? Is it because you think he or she is going to do better than you in school? Or because he or she is going to to seduce away your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or because something or the other. There's some fear behind every form of hate, some form of fear behind every form of hate. So we've got to get rid of fear if we are to get over hatred. And if we do not get over hatred, we will not be able to achieve reconciliation and peace in any community, in any country. The importance of improving intercultural, interethnic, and international peace. So, to improve those, we have to get rid of the sources of hatred, which is fear, the source of hatred. Why do we fear? What are our fears about? And this is where we have to be honest, not just with each other, but with ourselves. Because I think if somebody says quite often, I hate so-and-so, very often he or she doesn't give the real reasons. They give the reasons that they think will be acceptable to those who are listening, and the reasons that they think will win the listeners over to their side, and to agree that they have a right to hate this person. And then that leads to communities. You always find reasons for hating a certain community when you want to hate. And you will not admit that it's to do with yourself, because it's your own fears that have led to this hatred. So I don't have a very sophisticated formula. It's a very simple one. Get over your own fears, then you will be able to reduce your hatred for people, for organizations, for ideas, for movements. Then you can truly build up a united and peaceful society. We always talk about unity out of diversity. I'm proud of the diversity of our country, but we have not been able to celebrate this diversity by turning it into a unified strength for all of us. And why is that so? We don't trust each other. Well, we started a peace process in my country recently to try to reconcile all those ethnic groups that have been engaged in armed rebellion over decades. To get people, to get those groups who have been engaged in armed rebellion to sign the ceasefire agreement is a difficult process. And why do people not want to lay down arms? Because they think they need the arms to protect themselves, to protect their people, to protect their ideas, to protect their well-being. That means that they do not trust those who may be in a position to undermine their sense of security and their freedom. It's all fear. But why do we fear, and why do we want other people to fear us? That is even worse. I've noticed that there are those who take pride in generating fear in others. They think it's something to be proud of because others fear them, but I think it's something to be ashamed of. You should be ashamed if people are frightened of you. It shows that there's something not right about you, that you are not sufficiently just, that you're not sufficiently generous, that you're not sufficiently understanding of other people's points of view, that you're not sufficiently in control of yourself. People are always frightened of those who are not in control of themselves, because they do not know what these people will start doing next. So one should not be proud because others are frightened of you. Now, sometimes they put it as in awe of you. That sounds a lot nicer, but sometimes it just frightens you. So you have to be able to tell the difference. In awe of you, genuinely said, genuinely felt, is something quite different, because it denotes admiration, it denotes genuine belief in the other's stature, intellectually, morally, materially, whatever it may be. But to fear somebody else is no better than to make somebody else fear you. So if we want to have better relations, interculturally, interethnically, interreligiously, we have to eradicate the roots of fear. How do we do that? If I had the answer my country would have been at peace many years back. I don't have all the answers, but I think you start by not being frightened of others, by taking it for granted that every human being has something good in him or her, and that that vein of goodness can be mined, and that that vein of goodness can be mined to the benefit of all concerned. So if you believe in that, then that reduces your fears. And because you cannot hate somebody you do not fear. As I said earlier, I challenge you. You examine yourself. What do you hate? Whom do you hate? Is there no fear really at the basis of that hatred? That is for you to ask yourself. And it is for you to be honest with yourself. If you can honestly say to yourself, I hate that person, but I don't fear anything in him or her, then you must tell me about it, because it'll be very interesting. And I wouldn't really believe it. You'll have a hard time convincing me, but you can try. We live in a global society. That means we have to live with people of different ethnic origins, who belong to different religious groups, who belong to different countries, different races. We have to live with them. We cannot escape that these days. And when I look around the United States now, I do notice how affluent it is compared to my country, compared to some of the countries I've been. You are a very, very wealthy country. But what are you doing with the wealth? And I have to say, I thought to myself, but why do they want to get richer? Because they're so rich already. Or why is this drive towards greater and greater material strength? Why? I don't understand. How many meals can you eat a day? I used to say, well, you know, in my country, when we went through very difficult times, there were those who profited out of the difficulties of others. And I would be amazed because they accumulated houses and cars and so on. And I would think, well, you can only ride one car at a time. There's no way, maybe you can ride 2 horses at a time if you're in a circus, but not 2 cars at a time. And you can only live in one house at a time. Well, you can go from one to the other, but it's a great nuisance, I can tell you, because I have to move now from my house in Rangoon, which is my family home, to the official house in Naypyidaw. And it's a great nuisance running 2 homes. How do people cope with 10, 11, 12? I'm told there are those who can't remember the number of homes they have. But all this drive for more and more material possessions. What is this about? Is it about security? Is it about proving that you're better than others? What is it about? I really don't know. And I think if you could find the answer to these questions that I've put to you, do you hate without fear? And why do you want more and more when you're so rich? Then I think we would have found some of the very important answers that will help us to improve relations between different ethnic groups, different religions, different races, in fact, between peoples, between human beings. I do believe in human beings, because if we didn't have a very positive strain in us, we'd still be running around in caves and clubbing each other. So the fact that we're not doing that and sitting here at Harvard means that we have improved. So I believe in the ability of human beings to go forward rather than backward. And that, for me, is the answer to how we may improve intercultural, interethnic, and interracial. Did they not tell you that they'd asked me to speak about that? Among people of all cultures, backgrounds, and religions. And this is an environment where we can find people of all cultures, backgrounds, and religions. So let's all put our heads together and find the answers. And you tell your college what the answer is, because I am not capable of doing so in one short speech. Thank you very much.
it, and we really appreciate